Gonna do an update on my Mosin M44 Scout rifle idea and project. Like I said, I was given this gun, and so when I brought it home, was looking at it. It's a shame somebody cut the barrel front sight and folding bayonet thing off, shortened it to 16 inches, maybe an inch more. Depends how you measure it. If you measure it with a cleaning rod from the end of the barrel to the bolt face, it's 17.5 inches. So, I don't know. Okay. And so I asked my subscribers, viewers, for their opinions on it. And most people said, hey, it's a strong action, it's a decent basis for a gun, no problems there. But everyone did say, well, with the barrel, the 20-inch barrel is rugged recoil with a huge heavy bayonet thing mounted on the end of the barrel. Okay, that kind of helps negate the force. With all of that cut off, now you got a 16-inch barrel that's going to be pretty rugged when you fire it, okay, to blast everything else. Some people say you'll never get decent accuracy out of it, and kind of it ruined the gun. Which yes, it did ruin the gun, because in its original state, they're worth about 4C to 5, so it was stupid. And a lot of people said, okay, to recoil, then mounting the scope, then putting some sort of a muzzle brake on there and all this other stuff. So there's a lot of discussion, and I'm glad I got a lot of feedback from where to go. And so thinking about it, I said, let me do this. I'm going to just take it one thing at a time and try not to spend a ton of money on this. And so the first step is we're going to recrown the barrel, because I had to go and file it. It was all cockeyed, and I hit it with a file. And my first expense was $31 for a pilot to go down the barrel for my hand tools to crown the muzzle. Now, looking into this, the one idea was to put, like on a Scout rifle, long eye relief scope on the mount here on the sight. So I went and looked for something to take the sight off and get a scope mount or some sort of rail on there to do it. And looking at a lot of them, they're pretty flimsy. They even have a setup where they give you the scope and the mount, and it's just a couple bolts. But the recoil of this probably going to end up shearing the bolts off. A lot of people complain that the sight doesn't lock in or stay tight and moves. But I did find one sight, I forget the name of the company, but the mount is like 80 bucks. For the aluminum one, if you wanted to steel one, it would be over 100. And that seems pretty good, because you take this out, you lock something in there, and you clamp the mount down to it, and I think it holds it pretty steady. Most of the reviews, it's available on Amazon, the people kind of like it. The only drawback is there's only 3 little notches in the pick rail there to clamp a scope down, and it's hard to find the scope that fits on a little short rail. And so it would be 80 for the mount, and then I found some sort of inexpensive long eye relief scope, and again 80 bucks. Now when it comes to the stock, the Archangel stock, that probably would drop in there, and that's where you got like a box magazine and it's all adjustable. I think it's by Magpul, or no, PMag or some company makes it. That's $180 probably with shipping. You're looking at 200 bucks. So, you know, just the scope and amount's 160, 175. You know, now we're talking this, any of these accessories, you know, once you get past the scope and amount, it's more than what this gun is worth. Okay, you know, so going with the $200 stock, you know, I don't think so. And as for the muzzle brakes, I did find a place where I can get a clamp-on muzzle brake, because the problem is this barrel's tapered. Okay, so like trying to clamp it, turn this, thread it, all this other stuff, and there's kits where you can thread Mosin Nagants for muzzle brakes, but that's whatever that long barrel diameter was or whatever, and I don't know if that could be done here. But there is a company that I give them with this measures, and they will make me this device that I can clamp on. It's probably tapered and cut 1/1000th of 2 under the diameter. And it gets good reviews, but that's another $100, okay? But it's something out there. So looking at it, really, you ask yourself, do I need any of this, or to put that amount of money into this? I think what I'm going to do is, like I said, I already spent some money for that. I'm going to crown this muzzle. Then once I get the muzzle crowned, I'm going to just take it out, no sights, once my range opens, and just set it down and shoot at a target, a huge piece of paper, so, you know, 5 times or something, and see what it does. In other words, just hold it in the same spot with no sights, fire it 5 times, and see what kind of a grouping I get. And if it's decent, then I may go forward with more stuff. I really don't like spending almost $200 for a scope and a mount and then finding out that the gun don't shoot worth a damn. And we'll take it from there. And also with ammunition, people, oh well, the blast and that could probably damage the scope. The only other choices you would have is either sub-caliber insert, there's only one shot at a time, which is either 32 auto or 7.62 by 25 Tokarev cartridge. And both of these, you see somebody maybe fire 1 round out of it or something and never really elaborate. These things are kind of problematic, you know, and they're, again, cost some money for them. The 32, one guy had a bullet get lodged in the barrel. It didn't quite make it all the way out. And the steel one, they sell for the 7.62 by 25. People have used it and fired it and found that it welded itself into the chamber of the gun. So not good. So the only other option is, and I do have some soft point bullets that'll fit in here. I bought them at a gun show because they were cheap. And I really don't hunt or anything, but I have some 150 grain, I think 175 grain bullets that, you know, I will be able to reload for this. And that's where a lot of people suggested light loads. In other words, a cartridge loaded down. It's kind of not as simple as you think. You just can't go with any powder. But I have found a gunpowder that can be used, okay, and actually the reason I got it was for some light loads in another weapon, okay, and this has published from the manufacturer a formula of how you can load this down almost 60% and have a lighter load. Okay, which you really can't do that with other powders. Whenever you start lightening the load or going under the recommended start point, it can create weird issues. Like at one Carcano load using the ball powder and that, if you start there, it fires the gun. I mean, you have to take a mallet and pound the bolt open. Okay, because what happens is with some powders, when you go really light, it makes a strange, like overpressure type of load. So it's something you have to investigate. Make sure you have published data and just don't do it with any powder. Okay, but I think that's the course we're going to go. All right, so the next video in this series here about this thing will be crowning the muzzle. All right.